Hi, Dharma Circles. Fati here, the embodied Dharma coach. Let's talk about how you can tell what are the signs that you are on your dharmic path. I'm going to give you steps today to help you identify if you are aligned, how to be aligned fully and completely with the purpose of your soul. For those of us who are extremely sensitive, and we are gifted, we have special gifts and wisdom to share in this world, it's a different path for us. And you, like me, probably have a very sensitive nervous system and physiology. It means that we have to eat different. Our environments need to be different. Our relationships need to be supportive and nourishing. And that we can't do what other people can do. It seems like other people may get away with things that our bodies just can't get away with. And so we have to structure our life in alignment with this soul nourishment. And that's the definition of Dharma, as far as I'm concerned, is living a path, cultivating a life of soul nourishment. And how to determine, am I moving towards soul nourishment? What does soul nourishment feel like in my body? Because this is where it all begins. And if you can work with the wisdom of your body and cultivate a path that is nourishing to body and soul, you will be living, automatically, you will be living a dharmic path. So repeat after me. I will no longer abandon my body and soul for money, relationships, approval, or material world success. I will no longer abandon myself, my body, my soul, for money, relationships, approval, or material world success. This is where it begins, making this commitment, this declaration to body and soul, and living in alignment, cultivating a path of alignment with your body and soul nourishment. And this is a process. This isn't like overnight, this is what I'm doing, and everything is now in alignment. No, this is a process, this is a journey, this is a life path, but a life path that requires this commitment and this declaration to body and soul nourishment. And the reality is that most sensitive bodies were taught at a very young age to abandon ourselves, to abandon our body, our subtle body messages, our needs, our emotions, and our sacred gifts. And so the dharmic path becomes a path of reawakening these parts of ourselves that we learn to abandon, and to reconnect with these parts of ourselves that we've abandoned. And there are many layers to that. And I'm going to go into that today. So 11 signs that you are walking a path of soul nourishment, that you are doing what is necessary in order to cultivate a path of body and soul nourishment. And there will be changes. There will be necessary release and letting go. Because as we peel back the layers and we get more and more connected to our body and our soul nourishment, we have to say no to certain things. We have to let certain things or certain people or certain environments, certain foods go. And this is part of the path of I'm no longer abandoning my soul, my body, my needs. The dharmic path is a path of no longer avoiding your soul. So wherever there has been soul avoidant behavior, the dharmic path requires that you come back into connection and right relationship with these parts of your body and soul that are asking for you to pay attention, to connect, to be present to these parts of yourself. So if you have already decided, I am here to share my sacred gifts, my wisdom, my nourishment, that you know that you have something valuable and important to offer this world, that your medicine is needed in this world more than ever, then this class today is especially for you, because the Dharmic path requires a great deal of self-trust and valuing yourself, and that becomes the path. That becomes the path of empowerment, but it's also, it can be very lonely, and it can be very isolating even at times. When no one else believes in you or is validating you, valuing you, understanding you and your needs and your uniqueness, you have to do that for yourself. And truly, the Dharmic path is an inside job. This is what I teach, and this is the difference between other branches of, or other styles of Jyotish and coaching and therapy and healing. We have to orient towards self and the inner authority rather than the outside. Looking to the outside, looking to the outer authority to give us the answers. So the Dharmic path becomes a path of truly honoring the inner authority, the inner knowing, and cultivating this path. What do I know to be true for my body, for myself, for my soul, for my Dharmic path? And then we put that above everything else. And just as the Bhagavad Gita teaches us, this is not an easy path. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for the individual who's just going to go with the status quo or do what other people are doing, or even what looks right on the surface. This path is challenging and requires a lot of courage. So how to tell if you are aligned with your Dharma? The first step is sourcing from your own body wisdom, sourcing from your own inner knowing. And you must cultivate this relationship with your body and your own body wisdom. So that is step number one. And it's why everything I do is an embodied approach. Because if we are not starting with body first and your own body wisdom, there is no Dharmic path. Because then you're cultivating path that is outside of the self, outside of your own individual knowing and your own nourishment. So we have to start with body first. And I have 11 steps that I want to share with you to support you on your path and to help you cultivate this connection with your own soul nourishment, body and soul nourishment. So first of all, showing up for your body in nourishing ways. Have you cultivated a life of this? What does that look like for you? Is this a daily practice? What is your daily practice? What does that look like? Are you pausing? Are you noticing? Are you checking in somatically? With breath, with physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies consistently. And that's what it really requires. So showing up for your body in nourishing ways and cultivating a path of body and soul nourishment. Step number one. Next, focusing on sharing your gifts and wisdom. Believe it or not, the teacher learns more than the student. So if you are committed to Dharma, then you must position yourself as a student, which ultimately looks like being a teacher, and sharing your gifts and wisdom and meeting those parts of yourself that show up when you step into a position or a role of leadership and sharing and guiding and being visible. Stuff comes up and the teacher learns more than the student. So be mindful that there's a commitment to this. There's a commitment to meeting these parts of ourselves that show up when we step into a role of leadership or visibility. Next, we want to focus on making money doing what we love and loving what we do. There is a conflict that develops when you make money from things that do not nourish your soul. And it's well known in the Vedic tradition that the highest form of Dharma is to be able to make money from sharing your Dharma in this world. That's considered very auspicious. And there's a reason for that. When we are making money as a householder, doing something that is malnourishing for body and soul, there becomes a conflict within the soul. And we don't want that conflict. That conflict causes pain and suffering. And so it's much easier and gentler and more aligned when we make money doing something that we love, we're passionate about, we're sharing our gifts, sharing our wisdom. So making money doing what you love and loving what you do is a necessity for the dharmic path, especially as a householder. Next, we want to honor the wisdom of your lineage. The wisdom and gifts of your lineage are what have cultivated and created your Dharma. There is no Dharma without the ancestors. The ancestors, from an embodied perspective, literally hand you your gifts and wisdom. You are a walking, breathing, living, embodied expression of your lineage, gifts, and Dharma. What do you turn on? What do you turn off? What are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? What are you feeding? What are you killing? This is the dharmic path. And your gifts and your wisdom, from a Vedic perspective, 75% of your gifts and your wisdom that you embody are ancestral. So pay attention to what you're feeding and what you're cultivating and how you're feeding your ancestors. This is the dharmic path. Next, we want to say no to behaviors, choices, and actions that don't feel good or honor your body wisdom. This is the path. As I said at the beginning of this class, this is a path of no longer betraying your body and soul, cultivating a relationship with body and soul nourishment. This is the dharmic path. So once we've made that commitment, we start to see places, relationships, environments, foods, behaviors, choices that are malnourishing. And we have to get good at saying no, thank you. No, thank you. And then saying yes to that which is deeply nourishing, satisfying, supportive. And so, what are you saying no to? And what are you saying yes to? Who are you saying no to? Who are you saying yes to? Pay attention. What environments are you allowing in your life? And when you really should be saying no, what foods, what behaviors, what choices? Pay attention. So important. Making the needs of your body and soul your top priority. What happens when you create a truly body-centered life and existence? What does that really look like for you? What would change? How would your life, your relationships, your choices change if you truly created a body-centered, a soul-centered existence? I invite you to just notice what would have to change in your life if you were truly living and cultivating a life that is completely body-centered. For most of us, If we've made this commitment and we're on this path, we have to make changes. This life, this world is not oriented towards what does my body need? What is nourishing me? For me, I had to move up to the mountains and create a completely different lifestyle because that's what my body needed. And as the longer I live in the mountains, the more I realize that this is healing for me. When I go down to the city, it literally hurts my body and my soul. I went to Denver the other day and I came home crying. It was too much for my physiology. And I couldn't wait to get home to the mountains. And so all of us will have to make different choices when we are body-centered and we make a commitment to a body-centered life. So really think about that. What do you know you need? And you've been telling yourself, I can't do that. That's not okay. Should, have to. If you took the shoulds and the have to away, what would you have to do? What would you need to do for your body? Make your needs, the needs of your body and soul, your top priority. Next, healing and repairing systems of harm, dysregulation in your nervous system, colonization, religious dogmas, patriarchy, and misogyny, including capitalism. So much of our dharmic path is really, when we talk about, so body-centered, aligned with your own body and soul nourishment, and what am I saying no to? What am I saying yes to? So much of this is rooted in healing and repairing and recovering from these systems of harm that we've been conditioned with and indoctrinated into. If we were really listening to our body and soul wisdom and living in alignment with Dharma, a lot of this would change and just automatically starts to change and shift. So healing and repairing your nervous system, once you commit to that, notice how these systems of harm, the colonization, the religious dogmas, the patriarchy, the misogyny, the capitalism, it naturally starts to fall away and get healed. And it's not an easy path by any means, but it naturally starts to shift. There's also the commitment to sharing your gifts and wisdom while transforming your fear. So there's a commitment to sharing your special, unique gifts and wisdom, but fear shows up on this path. That courage that we talked about, it happens. That's the natural process. Every time I share something new, I face my fear. And it surprises me every time. It's like, how many years have I been doing this? And still the fear. And so it's like, there's the fear again. And how can I be in right relationship, befriend, become intimate with the fear that shows up? Because it's always the same fear. And so I want to get curious about that fear and build a relationship with it. Not reject it, not resist it, not push it away, but actually embrace it and get curious about it. And I'm inviting you to do the same. The next piece is a willingness to face your trauma and your grief with compassion and support. We all need guidance and support on this path. That guidance and support will change as you change and as you cultivate your dharmic path. But the willingness to do your trauma and grief work, it's non-negotiable. And it comes with all the other layers that we've already talked about. You will be confronting your trauma and grief in this journey. If you are living in alignment with Dharma, if you are walking a dharmic path, you will be confronting trauma and grief. It's inevitable. And if you're not confronting trauma and grief, you're probably not walking a dharmic path, really and truly. You have to. It's part of the job title and the job description and the journey. And I invite you to come back to the Bhagavad Gita and the conversation between Arjuna and Lord Krishna. Arjuna was confronting head on his grief and his trauma in this process. And it took great courage and willingness for him to say, I am staying true to Dharma, and I am staying true to my Dharma, even when it feels impossible. This is the path. Okay, next, making rest and rejuvenation a top priority. You will need more rest. You will need more self-care. You will need more rejuvenation, more time in nature, more time with water, more time pausing, listening, meditation, gentle movement of the body, massage, healing modalities. You're going to need healing and support. Rejuvenation must be a top priority on this path, because ultimately health is your greatest wealth. If you are not healthy and well, you cannot live your dharmic truth. And I will give you an example of this on my dharmic path that I had to confront and face. I was vegan for 8 years. It destroyed my body, and I wasn't even able to practice yoga. My strength was so weak that my body could not even practice yoga. And I had to face this inner conflict. How could I be living my Dharma? How could this be ahimsa when my body is so weak and I'm suffering in this way? And it was my Ayurvedic doctor, my Shakavansya Ayurvedic doctor, Vaidya Ramakant Mishra, who kept telling me over and over again, you have to eat meat. You need animal products. This is what your body needs. And this was a powerful turning point for me in my dharmic journey, on my dharmic path, realizing that, first of all, Dharma looks completely different for everyone. Nowhere in Charak Samhita or the Vedic text does it say, don't eat meat. There are certain physiologies that require it. At certain points in life, we must have meat. And there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. There literally is no good or bad, right or wrong. And that is pragyaprad, that's mistake of the intellect. In order for me to live my dharma, to be in harmony and right relationship with my gifts and wisdom, to be strong and vital and well enough to live my dharmic path, I have to eat a certain way. And it looked very different than what I thought it was supposed to look or how it was supposed to be. That was a huge turning point in my life on my dharmic path. What is ahimsa? Ahimsa is least harm. Least harm for me is going to be different than least harm for you. Dharma for me is different than Dharma for you. But if I don't listen to my body intelligence and my own body wisdom, then I can't possibly be in right relation with my own Dharma. So much of our shadow work and our grief work and our trauma work and colonization, religious dogmas, this has to be deconstructed in order for us to truly be in right relation and alignment with our own Dharma. So really be mindful of that, because a big part of this path is deconstructing what you thought or what you believe to be true. And we can only get there through our own body wisdom. And the last thing on this path that is required is asking for guidance, support, and resources along the way. Dharma was never meant to be done in isolation, alone. And it was always, this path has always been cultivated with guru, teachers, support, and guidance on the path. So if you find yourself needing more guidance and support specifically for your Dharma, then I encourage you to cultivate that attracting and saying yes to the right teachers, the right resources and support and guidance along the way to help you get where you want to go. Know where you want to go. How do you want to feel in your body? How do you want to feel in your body? Because that is the tuning fork. That is the way to align with your dharmic path. That feeling of nourishment, soul satisfaction, contentment that comes from within your own body. And we all need guidance and support and resources and tools along the way. If you're ready to deepen this relationship with your body and soul nourishment, if this is an intention for you on your dharmic path, consider joining me for my year-long embodied Vedic astrology course. We start in October. Registration is already starting, and we only have 20 spots available in this very unique embodied Vedic astrology course. If you'd like the details, comment WAITLIST below, and I will follow up with you personally with all the details, and we can schedule a chat to talk more details about what this amazing course is all about and how it will radically shift the way that you orient towards Dharma, your body, your soul nourishment. Comment WAITLIST below. I'll share all the details with you. And I wish you gentle, nourishing steps along the way. And may you continue to listen to the wisdom of your soul, the wisdom of your body, but not just listen, to actually follow through and cultivate that integrity, that congruency of, I know this to be true for myself and I follow through. I follow through with this knowing, and I cultivate a life, a path around this inner knowing. Comment WAITLIST below. I'll follow up with all the details about embodied Vedic astrology course, and I hope to see you in this wonderful group that's going to be walking together for the year ahead. Bye, everyone.